Today I'm going to bake a basic white bread, and this one's pretty easy. So let's go over the ingredients. We have half a cup of milk, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of butter, but you can also use margarine, 2 packages of yeast if you buy your yeast in the little packet form, or that's equivalent to 2 tablespoons of yeast in the jar. We're also going to use 1.5 cups of water, which will warm later on, and 5 to 6 cups of flour. So these are the ingredients, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat up the milk, because with the milk we're going to combine some of the ingredients. So first I'm going to go heat the milk, and I'll be back. I've now heated my milk, and what we're going to do now is we're going to add in the first 3 ingredients. So we have half a cup of milk here. I'm going to add in the sugar, the salt, and the butter. You can also use margarine if you want. What we just want to do is melt this. If you want it to go faster, you're going to microwave it again. You can also put this on the stove if you wanted to do it in a little saucepan to get it going more. Now what I'll do is I'm going to go heat this up a little bit more. We don't want it boiling, but we want to melt all of this. Later on we're going to let this cool down, so you don't want it really hot, but enough to start melting the butter. So I'm going to go heat that up a little bit in the microwave, and I'll be back. At this point I've microwaved it, and you can still see a few little pieces in here, but those are going to melt quite quickly. So we'll let this all dissolve properly and let it cool, and then I'll be back. At this point it's cooled down quite a bit. Everything's dissolved. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat up the water for the yeast. So I'm going to put this in the microwave and get it about lukewarm, and then I'm going to add, we'll add the yeast. So I'm going to microwave this, and I'll be back. And I'm back with my lukewarm water. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take the water and pour it into the KitchenAid mixer. I have my dough hook attached right here. And then we'll take the yeast and get that in there. And what I like to do right from the get-go is get a cup of flour in there and just get it going. So at this point I'm just going to mix this up a little bit, and I will be back. At this point we still have the 1 cup of flour, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in 2nd cup of flour, and I'm also going to add in all of our mixture here. And we'll get that going again, and we'll be back in a bit. I'm going to add in another cup of flour, which will bring us up to 3 cups. And we'll get that going. At this point the mixture's been going for about maybe another 2 minutes. Now at this point here we have 3 cups of flour in there. So what I'll do is I'll do another 1 cup of flour, which will take us up to a total of 4 cups. Whoops, sorry, I just hit the camera there. There we go. I've also moved the camera, so I haven't done anything off camera. I just moved it so we could get a better view in here. And I'll start up the mixer. This is the 4th cup of flour now. That run a little bit, and we'll be back in a minute. At this point, the dough has been going for another probably 2 minutes. I'm not timing it exactly, but around there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in my 5th cup of flour. And we'll get that going. Then I'll come back in a bit. At this point now, the mixer's been going another good 3 minutes, and we can see the dough ball is really coming together. And at this point, there are 5 cups of flour in here. I'm going to let this mix thoroughly, so another few minutes, and we'll come back and see. And then we'll determine if we want to add a little bit more, but right now it's looking very, very good. So I'll get this going again, and we'll come back and check it out. So since the last segment, the dough has been going another maybe 3 minutes, and we can see that the dough ball is actually broken down a little bit. So at this point here, I'm going to add in about maybe 1/4 of a cup of flour, and this is probably going to be my last addition of flour. And we'll let it go like this, and we'll see what happens. Once it comes to a dough ball, then I'll take it out. Okay. This has been going about another 2 minutes. At this point, I'm not adding any more flour. The dough is very nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it out, and we'll go for the first rise, and then we're going to put them into the pans and let them rise again, and then bake them later on. Look at how nicely that comes off. Beautiful. Beautiful dough. Nice clean mixing bowl. I'm going to use some Pam cooking spray. I'm going to spray this over in the sink area, and I'll be back. Pop the dough in there. I'll give a spray to the top of the dough, just so that it doesn't dry out. And there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll take a dish towel, place it over there, and we'll let it rise. Alrighty, we're back, and this dough has been rising for 35 minutes now. I did take a couple of peeks just to make sure that everything was fine, but let's lift it off and see what we've got here. So you can see that the dough has basically doubled in size, which you're looking for. You do not want to You don't want to let this dough rise too much, because if you let it rise too much here, it won't rise as much as in the other pan, when it gets into the pans. So anyway, let's punch it down. So that's the first step that you want to do. It's a beautiful dough. There we go.